Service. What is up, listeners? Welcome back to another episode of the Full Service Podcast. I am Tank Smith, your host. Today is episode 52. Thanks for being here. Happy day after Labor Day. I hope your Labor Day weekend was a good one. It's funny, I'm sure if you were to go back to the beginning of 2020 and try to make a prediction on what Labor Day weekend would look like, I'm sure nobody really had this in their cards at all. Last Labor Day, I didn't have a job. This Labor Day, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remake. So I guess things are really looking up in the world. As always, I appreciate you being here. If you're on the old social media, we are as well. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Full Service Pod. My personal Instagram and Twitter at TankFunkadelic. Give me a follow as well. If you enjoy the podcast, if you like what we're doing here week after week, make sure you hit that like button, that follow button, that subscribe button. You'll be alerted as soon as every episode drops. Reviews, ratings really do help for visibility for the podcast, so if you could give us a 5-star rating, write us a review, I will read it on air and I'll love you forever. Double whammy. That'd be incredibly helpful. Today, episode 52, I'm excited. My guest is one of my friends, Keith. He is a client. I've only had one client episode on the podcast so far. I've recorded with Rover in, November of last year. And since then, I've had multiple people reach out saying they wanted me to do more client episodes. I had a couple people reach out and wanted me to talk about what it's like being a black client today. And one of my friends, Keith, I was like, yo, dude, hey, you're a black dude. You're a young guy. I know you've been seeing sex workers longer than I have. Why don't we do an interview? So we sat down maybe a week ago, recorded this. We talk about how we got into seeing sex workers, his experience being a black client, the no AA culture in sex work. He gives advice. We talk about it all. So I'm super excited for y'all to hear this. I'm going to stop talking. Let's get to this interview. I hope you enjoy my interview with Keith. Thanks. Welcome back, listeners. It's Tank Smith. I'm excited for today's episode. I'm excited for I say it every week. I'm excited. I've had a few people reach out to me recently wanting to do client episodes. I had one person specifically want me to do an episode where I kind of focused on the perspective of what it's like being a black client now. And then one of my friends, I was like, holy shit, I gotta have one of my friends on the podcast. Same age as me, black dude, Keith, client. Fucking thanks for being on the podcast, man.
No problem. Happy to knock out a couple of birds with one stone, checking off a few boxes.
Checking them boxes.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. Listeners, we are in Atlanta currently. Keith, how do you like Atlanta?
Love Atlanta. It's tough to leave, I think. I was pretty much raised here.
Okay.
And I always have that itch, because I love California. I love places like Colorado, Texas. Big fan of DC, New York, but find myself this is home. Atlanta's a really cool city. Great culture, great food, great babes are hot here. Everything's amazing in Atlanta.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, the South. We got the women.
Hell yeah, Atlanta's dope. What do you like to do for fun?
For fun, I'm pretty. I would say I'm a little normal in that range. I guess you mean outside of being a John. But as far as normal things, I think, binging TV, I love eating, hanging with friends, all that typical stuff, I feel adventurous, going on a hike every now and then, but it's too hot for that shit now.
It's hot as fuck.
Yeah, I'm ready for fall. I used to love summer as a kid, but now I'm like a fall, spring, and then even winter now. I can't wait to throw the sweats back on.
I feel like every summer comes around and I'm like, I didn't think it was this hot.
I think it happens with age. Yeah.
I didn't know it could get this hot.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, and that's a common thing. Even my friend group, we're like, we don't like summer anymore.
Yeah.
It's miserable.
Yeah. I just want to put on a fucking sweatshirt and be comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. It's miserable. Yeah.
I just don't like sweating.
Yeah. Sweating's horrible. Yeah. It's disgusting. You can't do anything without having to shower 2 or 3 times.
Really, Gold Bond's my issue. I don't like investing in Gold Bond.
That too. Yep. I'm always powdering the nuts up and trying to stay dry, and you got a date later. You got to get the timing right. You can't shower in the beginning of the day and then.
Nah, you got to shower right before.
Right before.
Fuck yeah. What do you do for work?
So I'm in tech, so a little bit of software engineering.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Are you able to work from home during the pandemic?
Yes, fortunately. Yeah, I think even before the pandemic, I had some work from home privileges, but now full remote, I don't think I can ever go back to an office. So I'm with the gig I have now, it's remote from here on out, so I want to keep it that way.
That's what my mom's been saying. She basically commutes probably like 40 miles each way, like going to work on like 285, and has not had to work like, I guess, go into the office since, I guess, probably March. And she's like, I do not miss 285 at all. If I never have to drive to work again, I'll be so fucking happy.
Yeah, to not get off the rails here, but yeah, I hope companies wake up and realize, I mean, from a quality of life standpoint, it's a million times better. I mean, my commute, I would spend probably an hour and a half a day in traffic, maybe more. Like, this is horrible, you know? So when you're think about things you can do in the evening and stuff, you know, you can sleep in later, you can literally wake up 15 minutes before your first meeting or call or whatever. And then you don't have to deal with the BS after work. And, you know, before I would get home too late, didn't want to cook, didn't want to do whatever. But now I can log off and go do whatever I want. And it's still early, so the days seem longer.
And you can just smoke weed while at work.
Exactly.
That's the joy of...
But I will say the beauty in tech is we could do that. We did that before anyway.
Oh, goddamn.
Yeah, they don't drug test in that industry. So
I need to get on that, dude.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's not, you know, it's...
They're
not drug testing, but if you have a vape or something, no one's going to call you out.
My career path has now changed.
Yeah. It's a liberal profession for sure.
Fuck yeah. I know we're... How old are you?
30.
Oh, boy.
Yep, same age, yep.
Fuck yeah.
Young in the game.
Okay. Nickelodeon, Disney Channel. Which one do you prefer?
Ooh, you know what?
Growing up, not now.
Growing up is tough. So I will say that Disney Channel was almost like a flex. Growing up, I think a lot of kids didn't really have it, so I feel like at least where I came up, Disney Channel was like, ooh, you know, like you got Disney Channel, you got money, or something like that. But I would say Nickelodeon, like Rocket Power, Rugrats, Kenan and Kel, those are classics. Like Disney had their originals, the original solid.
Yeah,
but I think those Nickelodeon classics are like quintessential 90s, you know, when you think about the 90s in a nutshell.
That is true.
Yeah.
Hey Arnold's my shit. I fuck with that hard.
Yeah, I was a Hey Arnold fan. Yeah. I didn't like the I think they had some dark shows on, or was that Cartoon Network that had like Ren and Stimpy and like...
They used to have like Nick, was it not Nick at Night, but it was like, I think they had Ren and Stimpy for a little bit, but I feel like that was probably...
That stuff was always weird to
Cartoon
me.
Network a little bit.
Yeah, and like Courage the Cowardly Dog. I think that
that was Cartoon Network.
Yeah, so that stuff was weird to me. So
okay. Not too different. This is
yeah, I was like, this is degenerate shit. Like I'm a kid and this is weird. Rocko's Modern Life was another one.
I enjoyed that.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
That shit was weird though.
It was weird, yeah. I didn't like weird shit. I don't like weird shit now.
Even SpongeBob was a little fucking weird. But
SpongeBob was a little
the shit
weird.
Was fun though.
Yeah, but I guess I'm a little older though, so I tolerated that, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Are you, I know we mentioned earlier fantasy football you play?
Yeah. Hopefully can get a league together this year. Everyone's kind of late on the bandwagon, and I just don't feel invested in the league, but I'm hoping to get it going this year. But yeah, it just doesn't feel the same. Like,
we'll see if the NFL happens. Well,
right, if it even happens. Like, do you watch Hard Knocks?
I haven't watched this year.
Okay, so I'm a huge Hard Knocks fan, and even that seems weird this year. So I'm not feeling the mood, you know, like college football, which is kind of halfway starting if you're like an SEC fan. But even then, like, I don't even know if that's going to happen. So I'm not holding my breath.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, Keith, I appreciate you being on the podcast.
Sure. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. Can you remember the first time you think you ever heard of sex work at all?
The first time? Yeah, I mean, you know, grew up in the information age as millennials, so I don't think, having HBO as a kid.
Bro, real sex, dude?
Real sex, yeah. And a couple of the other ones, I can't think of the names, so I was always privy to it. So I would say, I mean, probably as early as like 12 years old, if I were to say. Maybe younger than that. You know?
Okay.
Growing up with HBO, you learn quick.
I will say, so HBO Real Sex, this is like off topic a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I was in a relationship for like 8.5 years, right? Uh-huh. I didn't watch any HBO like After Dark shit that whole time, right? Mm-hmm. We break up and I'm like, oh boy, I'm about to go on HBO. I'm going to watch all this shit I missed. HBO took that shit down like a month before we broke up.
Oh, really? When was that?
Like 2018, dude.
2018, that's when they stopped the late night.
That's when they stopped.
That's weird they stopped. I guess because they got bought. Like, what umbrella are they under? Like Time Warner or something?
Yeah, I think they're Time Warner.
Yeah, so. Politics, I guess.
How'd you get into seeing sex workers?
So, funny story. Real funny story. I hope we got the time for this, so bear with me. So, I was 22 years old. Okay. And I worked with this gentleman. He was, at the time, so if I was 22, he was like probably mid-30s. He was a grown little kid. Most immature adult I have ever met to date. And at that time, I just got out of a long-term relationship. It was like 4 years or something, or maybe a little longer.
Okay.
And anyway, I was at work, I was down, and he was an absolute clown. So he's like, I got something to take your mind off of it. And it just so happened it was around my birthday.
Okay.
So he's like, I got a gift for you. And he was like, go get a massage. And then he was kind of joking. He was like, you play your cards right, you get a happy ending or something. And I kind of laughed and played it off, but he was like serious. And so I was like, okay, I didn't know what to expect, but long story short, took him up on it. And I went and visit this woman. I guess he must have like prepaid for me or something, and he must have been a regular.
Okay.
So it was all set up, and I went and got like what appeared to be a legit massage. Like, and she really like messed with me a little bit since I was a complete rookie and nervous out of my mind, and she kind of fucked with me a little bit, and then eventually did the whole flip thing, and yeah, did the deed, and it was pretty cool. Now the funny part about this is I did not. At that time, and maybe of my young bravado, I was like, I don't need to do this or whatever. That was cool, but having no need to do this again. Plus, I was young and broke, so that probably was the biggest factor, if I'm being honest with myself.
I feel like that's a huge factor for you.
Like, I'm over here, like, kind of bullshitting. Like, yeah, let's be honest. So it wasn't until, like, 3 years later, I would say. Yeah, 3 or 4 years later, that's when I actually pursued to do it on my own.
Okay.
And yeah, so with that, I think I was, like, 24, 25.
Okay. Did you, like, get seeking it on your own? Did you get any advice or anybody, or did you know anybody who really had seen anybody?
Yeah, I was. Again, I'll revert back to this, and I think my personality. I'm big on. I'm almost a know-it-all, and I'm going to use my resources at hand. So like, if there's something I want to do, I'm going to make sure I leave no stone unturned to learn about it. Yeah, and that's how I treated it. So I didn't have any advice. My advice was the online community, which we have. So okay. I researched it up and down, read blogs, forums, whatever, and finally got the courage to, to take the dive. So yeah, but I had no advice from anyone though. I really just was on my own, but the internet definitely came in handy.
Did you know how to book anybody? You felt did you know how to reach out to somebody or?
Yeah, thanks to the internet. Yeah, it was foreign, and now it's hard to think back on it. But yeah, I saw articles and things written from the provider's perspective, and I follow that to a T. So, and I kind of got the way it works, the sequence of events. So, and I think you see on the forums, it's like a typical 2-call system or something like that. Okay. And at the time, I'm like, okay, what is that? And, I'm Googling my ass off. And then I finally was like, okay, so I text them or call or whatever. And I think maybe I feel like more people were wanting to call, but I don't know. But they talk to you, and then they sit, you set it up, tell them what you want, and that was always weird. I think I was always overly polite and stuff.
It's a good thing, though.
Yeah, professional, which maybe came off weird. I don't know. So are you a narc? You sound weird, but that's the approach. That's the approach I took. But I learned later that they prefer that. So as opposed to someone just saying, "Hey, what's up?" or you available? So give some details, introduce yourself, and so on.
Fuck yeah! How were your experiences seeing sex workers once you started?
It was a mixed bag at first. So despite my resourcefulness, it was a mixed bag. I want to say my very first experience wasn't really all that. She wasn't the most, it was a massage and wasn't the most central provider. And then the pictures didn't quite match. Yeah. And so I'm kind of picky in general, even, in my personal life. So I really had to filter it out. So I'd only go for women that had a good reputation, reviews and stuff. And then my experience, so I'd say it was mostly good, but I did have laid a couple of eggs there. I
feel like you just don't really getting in. I feel like you have to spend a lot of money to figure out what you're doing.
Exactly.
I feel like that's
there was some trial and error at first. Yeah, before I got into the groove. Yeah, there was some trial and error, and I want to say I went on a little streak of 2 or 3 sessions, which were kind of mediocre in my opinion. I mean, maybe at the time, just the thrill of it, but if I were to look back on it, it was a little mediocre. So I think it got better, like you said, with the experience and once I got my footing.
Did you know initially when you're I didn't really know why I wanted to do this. I felt like initially, I was just I haven't had sex in a while. I think I just want to have sex, right? But then, after doing it a while, I'm it's not really a sex thing. It's probably, for me, more connection with somebody else. But that's just me. But, did you know why you initially wanted to see sex?
That's the thing. I mean, on the surface, and I actually pondered over this just on my way over here because I knew this would come up. And I think on the surface, obviously, you want to get off. You want to, there's that aspect of it.
Make love.
Yeah. But for me, yeah, I think it was kind of like a thrill. It was something that's taboo. And growing up in the porn, generation or digital porn age, it's like acting out a fantasy almost, So you see, there's porn videos on massages with happy endings. So I think some of that kind of played into it. And it's like a thrill. I'm not really a risk taker in most aspects of my life, but this is something that I guess where it's like a bit of a thrill and adrenaline rush because you don't know what you're going to get into. It's something where you could get in trouble. You could, get robbed, scam, whatever. There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And just even, taking that out, just like, you don't know what to expect. It could be a great experience. It could be like, it's really just a lot of mystery involved. And I think that's kind of cool.
Okay. Yeah. Because until, I guess if you've never seen this person before, until they open the door, you don't know.
You don't know, what you're getting yourself into. So there's some nerves. Like I get like date jitters. Like more than, I'm more nervous, than like real dates in my life. Yeah. So it's like, because I don't know what to expect. Like, so my heart's like pounding and then you go in and, then you're relaxed and you go on with it.
How'd you feel about screening initially? Did you know anything about screening? Or?
A little bit. So I kind of understood that, like, and I was able to put together that, like, providers that were a little more higher end and careful would do some screening. At first it was weird because you're all nervous and you don't really understand how prevalent and how widespread the industry really is. So it's kind of like, you're thinking the worst, like, oh God, my information, what are they going to do with it? Blah, blah, blah. Or am I talking to the feds? You don't. Yeah. So I was a little weird about it, but I think in general, I kind of got comfortable with it, especially if they were asking for things that were reasonable, So I know there's a lot of different methods to screening, but I think, if they're not asking for anything too crazy, then I'm like, okay, what can they really do with this? Like, and I know, what you're doing. So. Yeah. With time I got a little more comfortable with that, but at first it was weird.
How do you feel now? Like,
now I'm good. Yeah. I mean, it goes back to, you're doing your homework. So if it's a reputable provider, someone with a good reputation, then no problem. I have no problem handing that information over. And I understand, it's tough out here, it's dangerous. A lot of creeps out there. Guys are weird as fuck. So like, so I understand. I'm happy to, do my part to make you feel better. And then in turn, I'll probably have a better experience because of it.
Yeah. Because nobody wants to fucking go into a situation where they're on edge with,
and people are,
what the, like.
Exactly. Yeah. And people are, unfortunately, it's a shit world out here. So gotta protect us for their safety and ours at the end of the day, probably.
Yeah. Do people in your life know you see sex workers?
No. Yeah. Well, actually, there's a couple. I have a couple like loose acquaintances who like we've kind of connected on that, and like, have you ever done that before? And I'm like, yeah. So, but nothing. No one real close to me. So it's definitely a bit of a secret of mine. How
do you think? Like, if you were to tell them, like, how do you think they'd react?
Ooh, God, yeah. I mean, they would be like, "What the fuck? Like, you're a weirdo," or they probably it wouldn't be. I mean, I think on some level they would understand because it's like. They would see it as, why not do? I think talking with people close in my life, we've probably agreed that that's something that you should do before you die. Like, it's just like, you're going to have intimate moments with a professional, someone who is, does this for a living, so it could be like a porn star experience, that's kind of how they think of it. Yeah. But if they knew it was a habit, they'd definitely judge me. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
I had definitely had comics that were talking shit. And I'm like, motherfucker, I'm on a path, okay? I'm on a journey.
And it's like, and it's weird. Yeah, there's that stigma, and that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people. It's like a lot of things. People talk a lot of shit, but then when it comes down to it, there's a lot of people doing it. Just like there's a lot of people paying for porn. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things out here. So someone's doing it.
And definitely, that's the thing. Like that's why I started the podcast because I'm like. There's thousands of fucking people that are doing this fucking thing, and nobody's talking about it.
It's one of those things. We're all too cool to admit it.
We're just pretending that it's like this shit's not happening.
But it's out here. I mean, you go on the sites, you see hundreds of providers. I mean, obviously, it's something that's in demand, and these women and men wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't in demand like that. So clearly, there's people out here doing it. They just don't want to admit it. No. Yeah. I mean, actually think about that. I'm like, which one of these? I'll be anywhere. I'll be somewhere as benign as a restaurant or even at work. I'm like trying to think who in here's a perv,
I like in my last job. I don't know. I was like, we had like some like going away party for somebody who was like leaving to go work somewhere else. Yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned the podcast to somebody, but it got mentioned to this older dude, like white guy, probably like late 50s, like
Right.
tech guy. And then he started talking to me about it, like how he does it, or like how he got into it, like in like the probably like 70s or 80s
wow.
and shit. And I was like, oh my god, like you just don't know until you really like talk to people and shit.
Exactly. That's just like anything, yeah. And then you find out, then you're broing it up and talking about it.
When I first like I guess started seeing sex workers, it was in the like mountains in North Carolina.
Okay.
And there was a lot of ads that have like no AA, which
Ooh.
I didn't know what that, like first getting in,
yes.
I didn't really know what that was.
Yeah, I had to Google it.
And then I was like, no way. Oh, no black dudes. Okay. That's a new one. How do you feel about no AA?
I mean, obviously it sucks. I mean, as a black person, it's like, it kind of sucks if you're reminded of discrimination. I mean, that's not cool. But at the same time, I understand that there's reasons for it, whether they're misguided or not. It could be from personal experience. It could be from, just what they were told when, you get into the industry. I know it's just kind of something, knowledge that's passed along. But for me, I think, one, I think I'd have to say to that is why don't, like, for those reasons that are stated, whether it's like the type of clientele, whether they're unprofessional or pushy or scammers, whatever it might be, the reasoning, well, why don't you just screen? Because if you're screening properly, then you rule all that out.
Yeah.
But I will say that my experience, though, despite seeing that, I have seen roughly probably three providers that say that, and then I end up being able to see them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think for me, so I think once they let that guard down, so like I said, the screening, so I think in the early days, I remember the first girl who had that, I think I called her. And so on the phone, she was able to, you hear my voice. I probably sound like a white guy, I guess. So
You sound like a black guy. Shut the fuck up.
been told that all my life. Like, so yeah, I embrace it now. But, you come across as a non-threatening, black person. So then they're like, okay, so, it's fine. And then I remember there was actually this one provider I met, and I actually got all the way to the room, and then she realized I was black. So I guess with her screening, she screened using like a picture or something. So she's like, show me a picture, and then I guess she wanted maybe like a business card or something.
Okay.
And so with the business card and my picture, I guess she just forgot to be like, hey, you're not like black, are you?
Yeah.
So she opened the door and she's like, ooh. And I was like, what? And I was like, and it was this awkward like moment. And then she's like, oh, I typically don't see black men. And I was like, well, why would you say that right now?
Yeah.
I'm here. And this is weird. And I was like, well, I can go. Like, I'm not going to press you. Like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. And then she's like, kind of made a joke, which, it's probably racist, but whatever. In your moment, you're on a mission. So like, you can call me an N-word in my face and I'll probably still go through with it. But,
Might make the dick harder.
yeah. So in that moment, I guess she was like, oh, well, you're not going to, I guess she said, you're not going to rob me, or like, you're not, but she, she saw my demeanor. She saw how I was dressed, and it, came across completely innocent and professional. And I think she was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, so it's never been a huge problem for me. I'll say.
Yeah.
I've been able to wiggle around it if I feel like it.
Yeah. I've never once I see it, like the thing that sucks is like you'll see an ad, you're like, oh, this is a good ad. I like these
Right.
pictures.
Oh, yes.
You read all the things and you get down to the last line, no AA, you're like,
Yeah.
well, fuck me.
It sucks. But I recently I got past that with one girl here. Yeah, like, you just, if you really want to, I think it comes down to them they do that to avoid getting to, weed people out. But I think if they end up being able to talk to you or see you and screen you, then it's like, okay, you're cool.
I'm like, I'm a nice person.
Yeah, you're nice. You're a really nice guy.
You just happen to be black. What the fuck?
Right. You're not
Bullshit.
fitting the stereotypes. But yeah, it is a fucked up thing. But I got over it.
Yeah. Were you, were you excited when you turned 30? Like, because I know, like, I've seen, like, a lot of ads will be like, no dudes under 30. Were you like, I'm 30 now? I can see anybody.
That's funny. Well, some of them say 35.
I see 35. I see 40.
It was tough. I got started young. So as you can imagine, like,
Oh, God. Young black dude? That's the hardest client.
I was about to say, yeah. And I somehow could get around it, And there was some weird, like, I think, it had to do with if I could get through the screening and be like, and somehow present myself, or if they can hear me speak or something, then I'll be Gucci. Like, they see what I do for a living, and then it's like, all right. But yeah, it was tough. I mean, being young, and I mean, that's a double whammy. Like, some providers will not see young guys. But yeah, I think, if they see my picture or hear my voice, I might sound like an old motherfucker, so they're like, all right.
Yeah. What's your favorite, like, ad sites to use? Like if you're looking at look up people's ads.
Trist, Rub Ratings, Eros. Typically, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does social media play a role?
Oh yeah,
like
for
somebody's
sure.
social media play a role in booking them?
Definitely, man. I want all the information possible to make an informed decision. You know,
Yeah.
I understand why. Obviously, we can't always have all the information because people are trying to protect their privacy and such, but it's really nice when you can have that because you want to know what you're getting into. You know, you're about to show up somewhere and you know, and give a substantial donation. You want to make sure that, you know, it's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
And it can be disappointing when it's not. So I definitely look like, yeah, when they have social media is always a plus. Like that puts me in 100% comfort zone. I'm ready to, you know, you're taking this seriously, but I understand why. I know why all providers can't necessarily do that. But you know, some they blur their faces out, whatever, you know. But yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I'm glad that more are starting to adopt these modern tools we have.
Yeah. Does it matter for you booking somebody if they have their own website or not? Does that matter?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to have. Yeah, it's a big bonus for sure. If I see that, it seems like they're legit. You know, it just adds a legitimacy factor. But not a deal breaker. I understand not everyone wants to maintain a website, you know. But yeah.
You're a single dude, right?
Yep.
Have you ever developed feelings for anybody while doing this?
In a way, yeah. In a way. And it's tough, you know, to decipher, like, is this, like, infatuation, you know? It was probably mostly infatuation.
Well, I fell in love at a strip club, just like T-Pain.
Yeah, so. It's, yeah. I mean, I tend to keep thinking I'm pragmatic and by nature, so I think I tend to understand that this is a business transaction, and I try to make sure I mask or suppress any feelings that crop up because, you know, if you go and you have a great time, it's easy for, you know, emotions to crop up. But yeah, I'll be lying if I said some of that didn't happen.
Yeah. Do you think you could ever date a sex worker?
Yeah. I consider myself a pretty progressive, open individual. I am a firm believer that sex work is work. I think it should be decriminalized, and I don't think it's you know, everyone has different comfort zones. So, like, you know, you might just, you know, maybe want to be with someone that only does, like, massages, or, you know, you might not want to be with someone that goes all the way. But I think, you know, it's, if you can detach, I don't really see physical interactions as something that really makes me that jealous. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
I'm much more like cheating is an emotional thing. So
I feel this, yeah.
That's me. So, and yeah, it's business, you know, so I think I definitely could for sure.
If you were in a relationship, do you see yourself stop seeing sex workers?
Ooh, so I was in a relationship about 1.5 years, 2 years ago or so. And I'm trying to think yeah, it kind of depends, you know. I think it's going to depend on the woman and if she's, like, okay with it. And, of course, like, if our relationship sucks or something, I'd probably be looking for an outlet. Yeah. So I won't rule it out, but on the surface, I'll say probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's cheating to see a sex worker when you're in a relationship with somebody?
On one hand, you know, by my definition, no. Because I think,
it's an emotional.
It's even less, yeah, and I think it's even less emotional than if I were to go out and cheat, you know, with like a girl at a bar, because this is literally, you know, it's a transaction, so there's really no chance of this, you know, this provider doesn't give a fuck about me, you know, I don't have to give a fuck about them. It's literally, you know, wham bam, might not ever see you again in my life. So that's how I feel, but of course, there's people out there that would not feel that way. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. But yeah, personally, I think, you know, it's and if it's something that's covering up, you know, symptoms in your relationship that are bad. So I think it is probably cheating if you're having issues with your significant other that might have something to do with intimacy, and then you're kind of using that as an outlet. Then yeah, I think you're not being fully honest with that significant other, and you should probably work through that with them. But if you have like a fully healthy relationship, then, you know, why not add some spice to it?
I agree.
Yeah.
I guess whenever I will see providers, like, I feel like I'll go in this, like, binge kind of situation. Like, I'll just, like, binge, and then I'll stop for a while. Then I'll binge, I'll stop for a while.
I can relate.
And I feel like after the binge is just, like, sadness. Like, just, like, post-date sad. Like, oh, God, that was so great. And now the dopamine's gone, and you're like, I'm sad.
Interesting.
It's never happened.
That almost sounds like it's like a withdrawals you're going through.
I feel it's just, like, happiness. Like, I feel like how I felt initially the first time it happened, right? Is I go to a strip club in, like, Asheville, and I lived in Raleigh at the time, and I'm like, those 2 days were amazing, and I don't know when it's going to happen again, and then there's just, like, sadness.
Okay. So I can So I do feel
and then
something.
the only way to get over it's like to do it again. Or for me, comedy helped. I could do stand up and talk about it, and I'm like, oh, that helps. Otherwise, it's just like go book
Right,
somebody else.
so I feel something after, not the same as you. So yeah, I feel my sadness is more related to either I think shame.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's shit you feel shame at,
a bit of so one, kicking myself because it's like, bro, I just spent like this much. Like I need to be better with money, so it's like I spent this money for this small moment here, and now it's like,
yeah.
So I think that's for my kicker. I'm just like, fuck, I'm an idiot. Like God, but to be honest though, I'm a spender, so if I didn't spend that money there, I'd probably go elsewhere, whether it's eating out or some other vice. But yeah, I think some of that, and then I mean maybe a little bit of guilt too, like I'm a piece of shit doing this, stuff like that. But but not quite related to this on your level. It sounds like you're going through like a withdrawal. You're like, man, I want it some more. Like, but yeah, I do binge. I've gone through periods though, so yeah, maybe some of that too, because I go through some periods where it's like wham, bam, bam, want to do a lot, and then sometimes I just like I go cold turkey for a while. So but yeah, it's definitely, I feel something. It's probably a mixture of all types of things because there's stigmas involved, and then I think it's like my personal responsibility and just stuff like that.
Yeah, you hear that, listeners? I'm sad.
Yes, man, sad.
Fuck yeah! Are you ultimately glad you started seeing sex workers?
Going back to the last question, I would say on one hand, no, because I'm thinking like, I probably have some more money in my pocket, but outside of that, yeah, it's cool. I enjoy it, obviously. So I think it provides it's an experience.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm glad I've experienced. I think I've been privy to this world that a lot of people don't know about or can't talk about, So I think for me, I appreciate what I've learned, in talking to these providers and are talking to, other Johns and things like that. And it's cool, it's this other world that's kind of taboo, but, there's a lot that goes into it. So I appreciate the experience and, something that I don't think I'll ever regret because it is pretty cool.
Fuck yeah. I feel like you just like lived a little bit,
Yeah, it's just living, yeah. And, and you learn about people and it's cool.
Fuck yeah. I don't know if I mentioned to you, like in March, I got ripped off for like $250.
Yeah.
Did I tell you this story? I
don't know.
Like I like cash after girl, and then like
no, come on, you can't do that.
I was reckless out here.
You were reckless, thinking with the wrong head, as they say, man.
I just wanted a massage, bro. I just wanted a massage. Man. I was speaking with my back, dude.
Oh, your back, okay, yeah.
I was. You hear that, listeners? My back was hurting. I needed a massage.
Man needed a massage.
It didn't happen.
Oh no!
Have you ever been like ripped off? Has that ever happened?
Yes, it was. But to be fair, I am super vigilant. I listen to my gut, red flags, all that stuff. But this,
I feel like I listen to my gut.
This was an elaborate motherfucking scheme. Like when I tell you elaborate, it was good. So, like we mentioned earlier, having a good online presence, Twitter, all that stuff, had all that. And the way I got scammed was when I arrived at the location, I guess they came up with this ruse like, okay, I'm going to have my friend who's one of my other provider friends going to grab the money because, this is like just to, avoid the looking like it's an exchange for whatever.
Yeah, it's like I'm not giving the money to you, I'm
exactly.
giving it to somebody else. So
it seemed legit.
There's not an exchange between us.
I'm at this location and I felt safe because I'm like, okay, well, I've seen you. So it's like you wouldn't be like ripping me off if I've seen the person. A lot of scams are usually online when you can't see the person or whatever. You're right here in my presence. Like I know what you look like.
Yeah.
And so, the girl took the money, and then I guess they told me to go ahead and go to this like location, and then I did that, and then they went ghost. And then like when I like repeatedly called, then they like threatened to like do something with my information or something. So it was all like legit. Like they did screening, like they really made it look so legit where I let my guard down. And then if there were any red flags at that point, I was starting to think with the wrong head. And it seemed legit. It was a very, supposedly an attractive provider, and the pricing matched it. The screening, was legit. The website and Twitter was legit. Seeing this person, so it was all like seemed so legit. Then I ended up getting scammed. I was so pissed. But everyone gets got every now and then. Happens the best, man. I was on a good streak too, man. I thought I was good out here, and then someone got me. So
it's just I feel like when you just like ignore the red flags, because I had normally I would never be like, yo, yeah, definitely just cash up somebody.
Yeah.
Just cash it. Like,
Yeah, you tripping, man. I don't know.
that being said, I will pay a deposit for sure.
A deposit?
Yeah. How do you feel about deposits?
Yeah, if it's a provider that seems legit and I think like higher end and stuff, or if it's like for like I guess I've seen providers ask for it for like out calls. If it's reasonable, but again, it's like listening to the red flags. So if it's like someone that doesn't have an online reputation, this or that, then I'm like, okay, you're probably scamming me. Like if you want to get $100 out of me right now before I come see you at an in call, that's probably a scam. So yeah, but otherwise deposits, I paid a deposit like once or twice before, but they were for providers that, are very popular, respected in their, given communities and such. So yeah, all that I'm okay with.
Fuck yeah. Do you tend to like see kind of like find like one person you like to see, or do you kind of like see somebody and then you're like, I want to see somebody else. I want to see some like what do you think?
So yeah, by nature, I definitely like to try every flavor in the box. I mean, I think that's why I do. It probably goes back to why I do it. If I'm seeing someone repeatedly, they have to be good. I will say though, I'm gonna say later in life, like I'm old, but as I've progressed and became a vet in the game,
as I've progressed into my veteran age,
yes, as I reached veteran status in this game, I no longer. I'm a little nervous to bounce around. I think that increases my risk and exposes me more. So I like to just keep a tight circle of people I trust. And then I think for me, that kind of when you do become comfortable with someone, and it's like they say online, your mileage may vary. My mileage is solid when I do have a provider that I'm cool with, and we have always a great time, and I get to probably enjoy some aspects of that said provider that they might not share with everyone when you're a good customer. So yeah, so now I keep a tight circle to answer your question.
Okay. I'll see online a lot, just like, like hobbyist or like a lot of people on Twitter where like a client is like part of their identity. Do you identify with that at all? Like if this client like part of your identity, do you feel like?
Yeah. I mean, it's a part of my identity that unfortunately cannot be shared publicly, but yes, I think it is. I have a presence, online in said community, but I would say it's part of my identity. It's a solid part of my life. So yeah. I'd be lying, if you're religious, before God, I can admit that. Or to people like yourself that are cool, but you can't go around just describing myself like that though.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
Has anyone told you sound like Obama?
Yeah, I've gotten that a few times.
It's actually crazy. This is not Keith. This is Barack Obama on the podcast.
Barack Obama, yes.
Michelle's gonna be pissed when she finds out about this shit.
It's stressful being running the free world, as they say.
It's rough. How do you feel about reviews and like review sites, forums? How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big proponent of it. I can see the other side of it. And how why some providers are sometimes hesitant with it, and I think it's one because some guys could be an asshole, but then they can go trash, the girl. But I think generally speaking, there's an understanding. At least the sites I'm on and the providers I'm looking at, I enjoyed it. It provides a sense of takes some of the guesswork out of it, and I myself contribute. But I always ask for permission though.
Before writing a review on
somebody. It's a nice thing to do. So I ask, you mind if I write a review? And they're always like, yes, do it. Yeah. Please. So yeah, I'm big on that. And that's just how I am in my own life. I mean, I'm on Yelp and, Google reviews and all that. I just think it's nice to share it.
We got a reviewer on the podcast.
I'm a reviewer. Yeah. I'm critical. So,
fuck yeah. How, do you think your perception of women has changed at all since starting?
I'd say, yeah. In a way, I think for women, just adds to how amazing women are. Women do a lot in life. They give birth. They put up with a lot. Just stuff on the surface, periods, women are strong as fuck, and they do a lot in this world, and things that men aren't capable of. Like, I would not be able to do that. Like, I couldn't, I couldn't be a provider. Like, it just wouldn't work for me. But women can bear a lot. So I think I've gained some respect in terms of women being able to put up with that, and not every client's great, and so it takes a certain strength there, and then just more respect for women, because you see all walks of life. If you talk to providers, there's some that, are maybe down on their luck and trying to, get back, or folks that are you wouldn't expect to be doing it, So it just goes to show you that, there's just a wide range of people that
all walks of life.
Yeah, all walks of life doing it. And so, yeah, I would say that's probably, just more respect. I mean, women are just insanely, incredibly capable beings, much more capable than men. So, yeah, more respect there. Power to them.
Fuck yeah. Has the perception of yourself changed at all since starting?
Yeah, I think just a little bit. I think realize I'm probably a little more adventurous than I would make myself out to be doing this.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I've probably gained some respect for myself in that sense, and then just and yeah, I think also just for me, it's about being as respectful as you can be when you do this. So like, I think for me, I haven't crossed any lines. I always, client or providers typically love me, so it's like I'm like, oh, I am a nice guy. It's like more validation that like I'm all right.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
I'm okay. Like yeah, I got people in this and yeah. So yeah, it's dope.
do you feel like you've gotten any better at sex?
Yeah, I think that kind of plays into probably something I missed when we were talking about the why or what you like about it. And yeah, I think it's a chance to, you're with someone who you don't have to, there's no pressure,
Yeah.
Even in the one night stand, there's still pressure, there could be pressures. But with this, you're with someone who's, hopefully, a good provider. They're a professional at it. They're good at it. And, yeah, you're willing to probably try things and experiment with things you wouldn't normally try to do with somebody. So yes, I would say, in terms of, opening my, opening what I'm willing to do and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's improved probably in that sense, because I tend to be a little bit more conservative in the bedroom, and I would say sex work has probably helped that.
I think there's like a perception that a lot of clients that see sex workers, they have no other choice but to see sex workers because they're like unfuckable or they could never get laid. And I'm looking at you right now.
Yeah.
Keith is a good-looking guy, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm all right. I'm okay.
How do you feel about that, or what do you have to say to people that are like?
Yeah, it's annoying. It's like kind of like we mentioned earlier. I think there's people that one of the stigmas is people think that you have to be like some loser or an incel to do this, and maybe that's some percentage of people, but just like the OnlyFans and porn, these industries are huge for a reason. It's because somebody's paying for them,
Yeah.
And same with sex work. So people are out here paying for it. So yeah, I think, you get folks from all walks of life. Like you mentioned, I started young. And it took a lot of, to this day, providers are like, what are you doing here? And it makes me feel awkward because I'm just like, so, hey, if any providers are listening, try not to make your clients feel bad, like they shouldn't be there. Because it does. It made me feel like kind of awkward. Now I just, I embrace it. It's funny. But for the first few times, it did make me feel weird because it's like, oh God, even this provider's telling me like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like you're young, you're handsome. And yeah, it's not the case. I can go out and, pull women easily, I'm a decent looking guy, but this is, I think you have all types of people that are doing this for all types of reasons.
Yeah.
And for me, like we mentioned, it's like, there's a thrill factor to it. You're free of any pressures. For me, I think it's this moment where you can, it's transactional, you're paying for a service, and I don't view it like that, like an asshole, like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. But I tend to be probably a little selfish. If I'm not trying to impress anybody, if I could have it my way, it's always going to be like Burger King, and, I can be selfish in the bed, but, if there's, in this game, you can be, it's like, within reason, this individual is here to make sure you have a good time. So
yeah,
I'm completely free. If I don't have to worry about getting you off, I don't have to worry about impressing you. It's all about me.
I feel like the pressure, the no pressure factor is like a thing that you don't like. It is like you're just going into this like space where it's like you can kind of be free, and there's like free of judgment or like really anything in that moment. And I feel like it's a cool thing that happens that you don't really get in like really anywhere else.
Anywhere. Even one, no matter what. Yeah, in the real world, you're there could be some pressures, but with this, it's definitely there's a bit more freedom to it that I guess I enjoy. It's a bit of an escape.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice? What would you tell a client that wants to try to get into seeing a sex worker?
Ooh, yes.
What would you tell that person?
Oh man, so much. We got time.
Yeah.
One, don't be a dick. I mean, that's ruining the game for everybody. That's just, you're giving people. That's why no AA exists. There's, all these, age restrictions, things like that, just because someone is out there being a dick. So, don't be a dick. Be respectful. I know, unfortunately, that's not the case, but I would say treat it. The customer isn't always right in this situation, just like with any business. So you need to come correct. Even though you are paying for a service, you can't just treat it like, oh, I can shit on your face or do weird shit like that. Like, that's not going to happen. You can't abuse. Be respectful, and come like a gentleman. Like, even though whatever perception you might have of sex work and stuff, these are people, and they want to be respected, and they want to be treated professionally, because this is like a job for them. So approach it like you would any service you're trying to get, or if you're at the car dealership, you want to come off, like a great client. Same thing, here. And do your homework, definitely do your homework. I think it's going to help you, one, to protect yourself, and two, to just know, how to interact with providers. That way you can have a better time. So if you're not, if you know the lingo and the rules and unwritten rules or whatever, you're going to have a better time. So I would say that, do your homework, make sure, don't be a cheapo, don't bargain, and don't be an asshole. I mean, really, that's, I'm sure if I were to, you've spoken with more providers, but I think that's the number one thing, right? Assholes. Like, don't be an asshole.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, come with the respect. But so that'll be one thing. Do your homework, do your research. Maybe try to talk to some of the forums, things like that are good, just to get a hang of it, and trust your gut, some people, we talked about getting scammed or whatever, like, don't think with the, wrong head. If someone's trying to get money beforehand, it's probably a scam. If the pictures look too good to be true, it's probably a scam. Like, you really gotta, do your you gotta do your due diligence. And if you're starting to get that tingly feeling, trust it, because you can throw away your life. So
I feel like doing the homework, doing the research, a big thing. And also, like, I'd say, I guess if I was going to say to a new client before you get in, just like, do all your research, find the person you want to see, and then wait 48 hours.
48 hours. Oh, like a waiting period.
It's like buying a gun, dude. You're just like, do I really want to?
If you're acting on impulse and in the moment, you're not going to be thinking clearly, and that's how that's how your hand gets forced, and that's how you get exposed, because you're not thinking clearly. So you gotta have that cool down period, as they say. That's the excellent point.
Just wait a little bit. Make sure you know what you want to do. I feel like just like knowing why you're doing something, I feel like helps so much.
Right. For sure.
What do you think your best experience has been with a sex worker?
So I have a couple. So we'll go from a sexual experience, just raw. So we'll give a shout out to great provider Lauren, best newer massage you'll ever get.
Oh shit!
Yeah, for legit. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, they all say they're the best in their ads, and they all talk a big game, but she is truly. Because I don't know. I mean,
is this the same Lauren that I had on the podcast?
Same Lauren you had on the podcast.
Yeah, what up, Lauren? Hey.
Yeah. Shout out Lauren, yes.
Hey, give her a follow on Twitter. Lauren, it's like Lauren Baby XOXO3, maybe?
Something like that.
Give her a follow on Twitter.
Yeah, she's out there. She's great. A lot of folks out here advertise Nuru, and they're not really doing it. They're not doing the body motion. They've got the right gel and oils and stuff, and that is a real body massage there. So, she is top notch. So,
fuck yeah.
Next time she's around, definitely go see her, and don't be a fucking dick.
Hey.
But and then I think the next best experience would be, it's just like a cool weird. So like, we talked about how I kind of come off, and you said and I'm a decent looking guy or whatever. So I think I've had the benefit of, I've always gotten like extra time where just like head providers want to just like hang out with me, which is weird.
Okay.
But there's this one provider I saw, we literally, had our hour or whatever. And then after, she was like, you want to go get some food? It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So we hung out like literally, it was like, we had the hour, and then we hung out like 2 hours after that getting food. Then we watched TV like an hour later after that, just chilling, just like kicking it. And then even the next day before she left town, she was like, she toured. And like the next day we hung out, went to the mall or something. So,
fuck
yeah! It was like really cool. Yeah, we're kind of friends. We still keep up. We're so kind of. I'd say that was really dope, and I have like similar experiences of that. So that's why I say, guys, don't be a dick. Like there's some things you can't help. Maybe if you don't have the looks or the social skills, but if you just come correct and be nice, sometimes providers will be willing to do more for you, or ensure you have a good time next time or whatever. So
just like people just do cool. Like I was in New York and I was in this fantasy football league to where you got to basically chug a beer.
Oh.
That like if you lose a week, right, the next week you have to chug a beer before the 1:00 games, or else you lose your top player for that next week.
Oh,
and I go see this chick at maybe 10 o'clock or something on like a Sunday, and then I was like, oh god, I hadn't done my chug yet, so she ordered me beer so that I could fucking do the chug, so I didn't lose my player. I was like, that's so nice.
You're cool. Yeah, I mean,
it's fucking amazing.
We're all people here, so yeah, if you got cool vibes, like it's gonna be reciprocated in most cases, unless they're a trash provider. But yeah, you're a cool guy, so I'm not surprised that happened.
Just be cool, people.
Be cool. It's not that hard. Be cool, honey bunny.
Fuck yeah. Are you a fan of stand-up comedy at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I love some of the greats, like the Chris Rocks, Chappelle's, obviously. Bill Burr's probably my favorite. Just because he's just a wacko, he's hilarious and politically incorrect about a lot of things, and can come off like a misogynist and racist about things, but we know he's not because he has a black wife and family. But yeah, he's dope. And I'm not even like the biggest stand-up fan, but yeah, I would say he's my fave.
Fuck yeah! Have you been to any kind of local shows in Atlanta?
Yeah. What's the garage?
Dad's Garage.
Dad's Garage.
Okay.
And then the Laughing Skull.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've done that a couple of times, and I want to do it more, but then COVID hit. So
goddamn COVID.
Right, COVID fucked everything up. I mean, I feel like Georgia's been open for months now. Like, if that'll change soon? Like, are they?
I don't. Yeah, I don't think Laughing Skull is going to be back for a little bit. I mean, because it's so tight in there. I mean, you could probably fit socially distanced 15 people in there.
Yeah.
And it's how much does it cost? How much does it cost to run that?
Exactly. Yeah, not worth it. Yeah, I'm sure they've crunched the numbers.
Man, but Keith, I appreciate you coming to the podcast. This has been a good time.
Yeah, man. No, this was cool. I'm really glad. I think it's one-sided, and probably because most people want to hear from providers. But I think we don't talk about the clients and Johns enough, and I think it's important to get our perspectives across and really get to review this world in its totality. So yeah, I'm really happy to contribute and happy to come back, if I have any more interesting stories or crazy stories, stuff like that,
Fuck yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on. This has been good.
For sure. Appreciate it.
Listeners, we will see you later. Bye. That was my interview with Keith. Shout out Keith. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. That was a good time. Listeners, this has been episode 52. Thanks for being here. We will be back next Tuesday with a new interview. Who's it going to be? Ooh, boy, I'm not telling. I'll probably tweet about it, though. So make sure you're following us. We are on Twitter, on Instagram, at Full Service Pod. My personal Twitter and Instagram, at Tank Funkadelic. Give me a follow as well. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. We're literally everywhere. Reviews, ratings really help for visibility for the podcast. So if you could give us a 5-star rating, write a review, that would be incredibly helpful. I'll love you forever. I mentioned last week on the podcast, we're doing a 50 sticker giveaway for 50 episodes. So if you want a sticker, we still have about maybe 20 or so left. DM me, send us an email at fullservicepod@gmail.com, and I will send you one. If you want to be on the podcast, if you want to hear anything talked about on the podcast, perhaps if you just want to write and let us know how you're doing, I'll probably read it. Send us an email, fullservicepod@gmail.com. I have a link in the Libsyn page for this week. One of my friends in the North Carolina comedy scene, he's a comic. He was diagnosed with stage 4 testicular cancer. He's been battling chemo for the last little bit. There's a GoFundMe link in the GoFundMe. If you could donate, that'd be fucking amazing. If you're unable to, I completely understand. But no, hey, well, we're out, baby. Hope everything's all right wherever you're at. I will see you on Tuesday. Later.